Hello everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here, and it's another day, so we've got some more start position reveals. I hope you're all having a lovely weekend and are enjoying your Sunday morning. So without any further ado, we've got Wood Elves. The Azrae have joined the fight, and they didn't move anywhere. They stayed in the exact same spots. They were just kind of like, we're comfortable. We don't really need to move. We're good. And frankly, I don't disagree. I really did not feel that the Wood Elves needed to move. I know there were a number of people who really wanted to see. I think the big ones I saw were some people pushing for like Durthu to go to the Haunted Forest, or maybe Orion to go to the Heart of the Jungle, or the Sisters of Twilight going to the jungles of Xi'an. Personally, I'm glad none of the Wood Elf characters moved. I think that all of their start positions are really comfortable for what, you know, their characters focus on. Like Orion has to be an Athaloran. I don't think that was ever truly debatable. Orion is the, you know, he's the faction leader. He is the king in the woods. He has to be home. That'd be like taking Karl Franz out of Altdorf or King Lewin Leyenkur out of Bretonnia. Like that is just, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. So I think that Orion being home is really great. And I also like Durthu where he is. Like Durthu to me feels like a really good menace to the dwarfs in particular. You know, where Orion is kind of this raider that runs out and attacks Bretonnia or fights the Beastmen, or, you know, like he kind of just surges out to be around Athaloran. Durthu to me has always felt more kind of like this much more angry aggressor, you know, someone that's going to be using that forest path stance to, or the world route stance, or whatever it's called, to show up in the Southern Grey Mountains and wreak havoc, or fight against the vampire counts of Heinrich Kemmler and all that stuff. I really didn't think either of them needed to move. Athaloran to me feels like a very appropriately sized place to have two legendary lords. It's got plenty of space for them. They, you know, kind of go two different directions and are fighting different kinds of enemies. You know, with Orion, you tend to be dealing more with like the Skaven of Skaven Blight and Greenskins and all this stuff. Whereas with Durthu, you're probably going to be much more focused on the dwarfs and the Empire and the vampire counts. So I really didn't think either of them needed to move. And especially because the Wood Elves have the world route system. You know, they can teleport to any forest in the world once like they've reached what, like turn 5 or turn 4. I don't remember exactly what turn, or maybe turn 10, but like you can teleport anywhere in the world. So their start positions don't ultimately matter too much as long as they're like appropriately thematic. Meanwhile, like the Sisters of Twilight staying in the Witchwood, I think that's great. They still get to be like a really good rival for Taurux. You know, there's a Beastman nearby that they can throw down with. And there's also not like a ton going on in Naggaroth. You know, obviously once we get to the Dark Elves, Naggaroth is going to look notably more filled. But something that I've seen on Reddit that I absolutely agree with was there was a post that's like, at the end of the day, it's only a matter of time before the entire world is probably going to look like the Thunderdome, the Southlands Thunderdome, where this idea that, oh, like we should space characters out more because some of the areas are looking a little congested and others look so empty. Well, they only look empty for now. There is a very high likelihood that they're going to become very congested with time. So, you know, literally the only start position I've seen where I'm like, that needs to change is Elithnar, and it's only because of the exact city he's starting in. If they moved Elithnar like one province to the left, I'd be happy, or moved him down to Arnheim or whatever. But I think the Sisters of Twilight, Nystra and Arhan, are great in the Witchwood. I think the Witchwood is a lot of fun for them. I am curious to see how Naggaroth is going to feel, seeing as it's kind of been redesigned. Naggaroth, Lustria, and the Southlands have obviously been very heavily redrawn as far as, you know, now they've got the full landmass. So I'm really curious how Naggaroth will feel different for the Sisters of Twilight. But the Sisters of Twilight, in my opinion, have always been the best campaign in Naggaroth as far as being able to maneuver, because Nagaroth is it's very lane heavy. So because of the mountains, you kind of have like, you have the coastal lane, and then you have a mountain, and you've got the mountain lane, and then you got more mountains, and then you've got the eastern lane, which is kind of like the main body of Nagaroth with all the forests and everything. So it kind of runs up through a lot of the continent. So because of that, it's always felt very much like the sisters were really the best at maneuvering, because they are able to essentially do an underway stance that allows them to move across the mountains without any major issues. Actually, Taurus can do that as well, but I just think it works really well for them. They make for, a much more, they just help add another order faction to Nagaroth, so it's not just baddies. Once we get the Dark Elves in there, there's going to be a lot of Dark Elves. There's probably going to be at least one Warriors of Chaos character with like Valkia. And then, we're going to have Grombrindal. So there's going to be just a lot more interesting stuff going on there. Nagaroth kind of seems like one of those places where people tend to have a knee-jerk reaction, in my opinion, to they're like, oh, there's too many people in Nagaroth. And it's like, nah, there's really not. Like, the Southlands is way busier. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think the Sisters of Twilight staying there is just fine. And then Drychun, the Griffinwood, is fantastic. I love Drychun, the Griffinwood. She makes for like a really unique antagonist to the Empire and now Kislev and the vampires, in that you don't really know whose side she's on, because she just hates all the Order factions so much. Like, she hates the humans, but she also hates the vampires, and she also hates the greenskins. Like, she just hates everybody. So I'm really, really interested to see how Drycha's AI is going to be. And Drycha in particular, I'm very excited for, because we have had confirmation from Creative Assembly that Drycha has gotten access to new units. Drycha now has bears, wild bear creatures, as part of her wild beast roster. So just like she can get giant spiders, or she can get a lot of those mounted units, or traditionally mounted units, like giant wolves, stuff like that, she apparently is going to have access to bears as well. So that's really, really exciting. Bears, I think, are going to be an excellent addition to her roster. Rakarth is also getting access to bears, but Rakarth also has access to saber tusks, which Drycha does not, because presumably the saber tusks are not native to the forests. Seems to be the logic there. But I'm really, really excited to play these campaigns and see how they're going to work and how everything plays. But ultimately, I don't really have too much to say about the Wood Elves. I do think they're going to be quite a bit of fun. The whole being able to teleport to whatever forest you like is going to be excellent because of the new forests that have been added. Presumably the Haunted Forest is going to... I'm really curious to see what buffs they're going to bring to the table, because each of the forests that you go to, as you purify that forest and reconnect it, or stabilize it within the weave and heal it, the world roots connected to it, it will provide you with certain faction buffs. And all of them traditionally have provided a diplomacy bonus to a neutral or order faction, plus some kind of other bonuses. And then there's usually a unique building that exists there, like a temple of some kind to one of the Elven Pantheon. So I'm really, really excited to see what the Haunted Forest and the Jungles of Xi'an are going to bring to the table. I feel like diplomacy-wise, we're probably going to see the Haunted Forest is going to provide diplomacy bonuses with the Ogre Kingdoms being the nearest neutral race, neutral or order race that they don't already have diplomacy buffs with through a forest. And then the Jungles of Xi'an will obviously give you diplomacy buffs with Grand Cathay. So those are going to be both super real fun and allow you to interact with those factions in really fun ways, and also continue to provide me with deep, deep hope that we'll get... I really, up here around like Ostland and Nordland, like on the northern side of the Middle Mountains, I really, really am hoping that we get the Forest of Shadows. I really want the Forest of Shadows and for Zacharias to start there. The cool thing about the Forest of Shadows is then that would be the Wood Elf Forest that would give you a diplomacy buff with Kislev, because the Griffinwood gives a diplomacy bonus with the Empire, because the different forests are, I believe, if I recall correctly, The Witchwood, I think, gives diplomacy bonus with the Dark Elves. They're not an order faction, but I think it's the Dark Elves for this forest. And then the Emerald Pools, or whatever this forest is down here in Lustria, gives you a bonus with the Lizardmen. The Heart of the Jungle gives you a bonus with the Tomb Kings. The Forest of Gloom gives you a bonus with the Dwarfs. The Avalorn's Forest gives you a bonus with the High Elves. And then the Griffinwood is the Empire. And then I don't remember exactly how they do it for... I think Bretonia, you just get diplomacy with them through the tech tree, as opposed to by healing a forest. Or maybe one of the Athalorn forests does it. And that's like the whole list. So the only like major faction that you don't get a diplomacy bonus with right now appears to be Kislev. But yeah, like I said, I'm very excited. I'm not going to waste anyone's time any further. These all look really good. I don't think any of the characters needed to move, so I'm really pleased. Tomorrow is Vampire Coast. Vampire Coast, I am very interested in one character, which is Solostra Deerfon. Solostra, I think, has to move, because right now I think she starts in a minor settlement right here on the either the Amara swamps or the jungles of Pahalaksa. So I hope she moves to just a different coast somewhere in the world. I don't care where, but I hope she gets a major settlement. But like, I'm expecting Aranessa to stay in Sartosa, Noctilus to stay in the Galleon's Graveyard, and Luther Harkin to stay in the Vampire Coast. So hopefully we'll get to see interesting with Solostra Deerfon, so we'll be able to talk about that. But in any event, thank you all so much for watching. I will probably be streaming some stuff later today. I don't know what, probably some Vermintide or what have you. But I hope you all have a lovely Sunday and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Until I see you next time. Also, the episode of Lore Beers that happened today, I will release here on the YouTube channel and on your favorite podcasts sites today. So be sure to keep an ear out for that. In any event, hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Bye.